So I want to say welcome everyone to this afternoon's event, Goodwill Ambassadors, Edmonton's China Dolls, presented by the Chinese Benevolent Association of Edmonton. My name is Christina Hardie, and I'm the curator of the Edmonton City as Museum project, which is an initiative of the Edmonton Heritage Council. And I'm very humbled to be the moderator for this afternoon's chat with two former members of the Chinese Girls Marching Ensemble. I must acknowledge that the place where I am living, the place where my historical work is rooted, and the place from where I am broadcasting this afternoon is located on Indigenous lands. Lands that have been occupied, cared for, and traveled by Indigenous folks since time immemorial. I want to acknowledge that I am in Treaty 6 territory and that this place, Amiskwaciwâskahikan, is the traditional meeting ground, gathering place, and traveling route of the Nehiwa, the Anishinaabe, the Niitsitapi, the Métis, the Dene, and the Nakota Sioux. And I acknowledge these things not because it's politically correct or a checkbox requirement, but rather because it is a necessary reminder of the history of this place. Treaty and territorial acknowledgements are important contextual grounding points when considering the history of this place, reminding us of parts of our collective history that we are still influenced by and beholden to today. They remind us that we occupy Indigenous lands and that Indigenous peoples have lived, traveled, and cared for this place since time immemorial. They remind us that the arrival of colonizers is but a drop in the vast sea of time that covers this place. However, this part of our collective history, these deep-seated histories and agreements between nations, have been historically excluded from the stories we tell about the past, excluded from the stories we tell about this place, and for some, excluded from the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves. So for folks who have come here and for whose families have come here, it is important not to forget our obligations as treaty people, to not forget or exclude this part of our shared history, or to position it as something that happened in the past, relevant only to the past. We must recognize the ongoing legacy and impact of colonial violence against Indigenous peoples and how peoples not Indigenous to this space have benefited and continue to benefit from this violence. And I share this acknowledgement not because I have to, but because these histories and legacies are all relevant to us today living in this place. And these histories must always be kept in mind and acknowledged and included when moving through our city and engaging with the stories of these places. Hi, hi.
Remember the British invasion when the Beatles landed in North America in the 1960s? Well, around the same time, the Chinese influence also arrived in Hollywood with such movies as The Flower Drum Song and The World of Susie Wong. In 1964, the Marco Polo nightclub in Vancouver's Chinatown featured a group called the China Dolls. And in the late 60s, we have the Edmonton China Dolls, Chinatown's ambassadors who performed at several community events in the local Edmonton area.
All right, folks, it is now my pleasure to invite to the screen two members of the Chinese Girls Marching Ensemble, which at the time was known as the Edmonton China Dolls. They were formed in approximately 1967 and served as ambassadors for Chinatown, performing at various events throughout Edmonton, such as Klondike Days, the St. Albert Rainmaker Rodeo, and the 1967 Centennial celebrations. Thank you so much for joining us today, Yummoi Ji and Lilly Seto.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm just still playing with my thing.
Of course. Well, I'm very thankful that you could both join us today. to talk about your experience as a Chinese or as a China doll, a member of the Chinese Girls Marching Ensemble. So my first question is, how old were you when you were a member of the group? And how did you become a part of the group? Were you selected? Was there an audition process? How did you get involved?
Okay, I'll go first. I remember I was probably around 12 or 13 in junior high school. And I believe, maybe Lilly will remember it more clearly than I can. I don't think we had to audition for it, but I think it was by word of mouth. And I had some close friends that joined, and maybe they went to some of the schools that we were going to ask for participation from us. I'm not sure. Lilly, do you remember more than I do?
Well, I think I was like 10 years old. I was in elementary school,
Mhm.
and I was just tagging along with my sister. But I did talk to my sister. She lives in Calgary, and I think you remember her, Fawn.
Yes.
Yeah, I tagged along with her, and I asked her how we joined, and she said, "Well, did you go to Chinese school?"
Yes. Yeah.
She said it was there. Remember Frank
Oh,
Lee's
okay.
sister?
The Chinese United Church. Yes.
Yeah, and
Okay.
Frank Lee's sister, she was the one who
Okay.
put out the word. And
Okay.
of course, me hanging out with my older sister, and we're
Uh-huh.
gonna go have fun. I'm going.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
you might be right, because
that.
then if you were 10, yeah, I was probably a couple of years older than you were.
Yeah,
And they may
just a
have
few
gone
years.
to the Chinese United Church, where we also took
Yes.
Chinese lessons. And that's where I
Yes.
remember you and your sister from, and Lan too.
Yeah, and land. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was.
Wow.
She said it was from the Chinese United Church, and
Okay.
they had the Chinese school,
Yes.
and we took some of those classes.
Yes.
And she said Frank Lee's sister was just talking about it and tried to get some girls
Okay.
to join, and that's how
Yeah.
we got in.
Yeah. Frank Lee's
Yeah.
sister is Betty. I remember her.
Yes.
Betty
yes.
Lee. Yes.
Yeah. That was a long time ago. We're not
That
young
was a long
chickens
time
anymore.
ago. And the Chinese United Church was still very close to the Chinese Benevolent Association.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It was
That's how
right in
we got
Chinatown.
connected.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was
Because-
sad to see that. We're not going anymore. Okay, how come?
The group was originally brought together by the Chinese Benevolent Association, correct?
They were a major sponsor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They probably, yeah. From what I remember, probably yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And from what you shared with me previously, Yummoi, there were two groups of girls. So you were both part of the junior girls troupe,
Yes.
but then there were the older senior girls as well.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. Were the senior girls in high school or more so 1920?
Probably, because I remember they were probably 5, 6 years older. Most of them could drive. They drove us around. So
Okay.
Oh yeah. I remember going to Calgary, being in the car, driving.
we went to Calgary. I don't remember that.
Yeah. Too bad Sylvia didn't join us, because Sylvia would know too.
Yeah, my good friend. Yeah, and can you
Yeah.
pick out yourself in that group photo?
I'm in the first row
middle
there, right in
row.
the middle.
Right in the middle. Yes.
Yeah. It's so blurry.
Well, it's an old photo. Yeah.
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 I was told that group photo was taken at the Jubilee Auditorium.
I remember performing at the Jubilee Auditorium because I remember screwing up. I was on step. I remember that at Jubilee. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as a member of this group, what did you both do? You've mentioned performing at the Jubilee Auditorium. What would these performances be like, and what are some of the other places that you can remember going to?
Well, the indoor, I don't remember too much of the indoor performances. I remember being in the Klondike Days parade.
Yes.
We were doing our marching routine. We all carried our lanterns, and we did some sort of routine, kind of like, I don't remember too much of it. And I believe the senior girls, they did a ribbon dance routine as well. They had the rolls of ribbon, and they would, like.
Oh yeah, I was so envious of them. I said, I want to do that. I want to do that.
All we could do was carry our lanterns.
Yeah, I remember that. But I do remember the Jubilee one on stage.
Okay,
that one.
And that's when we may have performed the other one to the music, to the
a very famous Taiwanese folk song, we're wearing the other costume, because that would be better done indoors, because we would be bare, we would be barefoot.
Is that the one with the bells on your ankles?
Yes.
Yes, I love that one.
That one, yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I used to always sing the song to myself, but now I can't remember the song.
Oh, well, you hear it later.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Well, we do have a question that came through the Q&A, so maybe we can answer that question and then go to the video that was created.
For sure.
So the question is around the name China Dolls. And was it part of your heritage to refer to young women as girls, or young women and girls as dolls, or where's the name come from, and how has maybe the name changed into present day?
Well, back in the 60s, late 60s, I guess it was acceptable to be called China Dolls. I guess in today's day and age, it's probably not so politically correct, but I think we were, it had a positive connotation for us. We're Chinese, and we're young single women.
And
Girls, yes, yeah. So dolls, I think it was fitting, but I don't think we could have come up with a better term at the time.
Yeah. Well, I'm just having some difficulty with my screen share, so I'm going to ask another question as I get that video prepared. How did it feel to be a member of that group when you were a young woman living in Edmonton? Was it a source of pride? Was it something that you look forward to? How would you talk about your experience to maybe your friends at the time?
I would say I was proud. Mom and Dad were always into keeping your own heritage, so that was one thing that we were allowed to join. I had a lot of fun, made friends, and I looked forward to it.
Yeah, for me, having grown up living in the inner city, opportunities to get out of that area were very far and few, and being a part of this China Dolls group, I think allowed me to see more of the city and to participate in community events. It was a lot of fun because I had a lot of my close friends that were also part of the team, and it was good to kind of be proud, to have an opportunity to be part of, to be proud of our Asian heritage.
I can relate to Yummoi. I think she did a good job in saying that. And look at those costumes! Oh my gosh!
Yes,
we used to wear that.
These are the China Dolls. These are the girls in 2021 wearing the costumes.
Yes.
So you each had two different costumes that you would wear?
Depending on the performance.
And this was the costume where you would have the bells on your ankles?
Yes, that folk song. Yes,
yes, that's the one with the bells on the ankles. Yeah. I like this one. I even took a picture. My brother took me a picture of me in that outfit at home.
I think we all kept the outfits. They're so beautiful, right?
I didn't get to keep mine. My sister said we had to return it.
I didn't return mine.
I want that. No, but I felt really proud because it made you look, as a young girl, you want to look pretty, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly how I felt. I felt pretty when I was wearing that, and I was really proud of our Chinese heritage.
Yeah. Hey, Lily, I'm wearing mine today.
I was looking at that. You still fit it.
It was a tight squeeze.
So unfortunately, I didn't get to keep it.
So the outfit that you're wearing, Yummoi, is the one pictured, but there would just be a shoulder piece that went on top?
It was like a cape that went over. I can't find that piece. And it also, what she's wearing also had a belt. And then we wore white gloves and white sneakers. And
yes, that's right.
Yeah, and the costume that were made for us, I think they were all one size, but they were quite a bit bigger. It was quite loose then because we were 12, 13-year-olds. And, in the pictures, you can tell we all wore the belt and was quite loose fitting, not like what you see today. And I believe we wore probably our street clothes underneath. So that's why they're so clean and, there's no stains on it or anything.
Yeah. Oh, so would, I guess you would all meet somewhere. The older girls would drive you to the performances and then you would get changed there and have a performance.
Right. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And I recall we did quite a bit of practice too. One place in particular, I remember it was called Airway Park, across from the municipal airport.
Mm-hmm.
And we did our routines there, outdoors in the open field.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I do have a video of the two women here performing, so I'll play that for you right now. And if you can't hear the sound, please let me know, or Ashton, send me a little message and I will try and I'll hear it.
阿里山的姑娘美如水呀，阿里山的少年壮如山。高山长青，涧水长蓝。姑娘和那少年永不分离，碧水长围着青山。
Was
My
Does
goodness.
that song bring back memories, Lily? That's the
It
song
does,
that you like,
and
right?
that song. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, I just sent you a picture there, Christina.
oh, okay. Oh yeah, I'll take a quick look. I wanted to. I thought
Yeah.
maybe we had a question come through, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that does just bring back memories and the happiness and the joy. And it's too bad we can't move like that because we'd break our bones.
We're not
Yeah.
as flexible as we used to be, right?
Yeah, but it does bring happy feelings back. It
Well,
really does.
I had forgotten this phase or this group, for a long time. And then,
Yeah, I know.
my brother asked me about it, and then it kind of, then I talked to my friend Sylvia. She had the full costume, the two full costumes, and she lent it to these two girls so they can, perform this video. So yeah, it's just kind of brings you back 50 plus
does.
years when we were so young.
I know. I forgot all about it until your brother called me. I'm going,
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
What?
Well, I
That's so
forgot
long
that you
ago.
were in the group until Sylvia said, that's Lily. And then I said, oh, wow, that's Lily. So I told Bill, my brother, and then that's how he contacted you.
Yeah.
We should have a China Dolls reunion, eh?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, but we'd all be like 80 years old.
No. We're not that old. We're old, but not that old.
But it does bring back happy memories.
Yes.
Yeah.
It does.
Nothing but happy memories. For
And good feelings. Yes.
sure. Yeah.
When we were chatting earlier this week, Lily, you mentioned that while you were a member of the ensemble, you lived in the downtown Chinatown area. And Yummoi, did you live in that area as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we lived on 96th Street, 102nd A Avenue, what is now called the quarters of the Boyle Street community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I lived
It was
across the
great.
street from the Boyle Street Park. Yeah.
Well, we lived there for the longest time.
Yeah.
What were some important places there? Places that you would go with your families, or where you went to school, where you would hang out with your friends? What did your life look like when you lived in that area?
Well, I walked to Alex Taylor School for my elementary education, and then to Macaulay, two inner city schools, and then high school at Victoria Composite. And, my grandfather always wanted us to keep our Chinese language. So it was important for us to attend Chinese lessons at the Chinese United Church, which is also on 96th Street, about a block north of the Gibson block. And then the Chinese Benevolent Association, a lot of the societies like the Wong Society, Ma Society, they had their I guess their headquarters offices right in the inner city Chinatown area. And we would go to the city market some of the others, and some of the, I remember going to the G Association, and then there was the Wong Association across the street from where we lived, and there were a few Chinese grocery stores. Yeah, so it was a long time ago. It was a different time, and it certainly has changed now, because I remember going to the city market last summer, and I was really shocked to see the street where I used to live is now a park. On 103rd, 104th Avenue and 96th Street.
Yeah. What about you, Lily? What was your experience like growing up in Chinatown?
I was like right across the street from the Ball Street Park, and we hung around exactly like what Yummoi said. We hung around the Alex Taylor because they have a big, huge yard, and a group of us would go there and play baseball and soccer. I was more active that way, and we went to Macaulay and went to Vic High. I didn't go to the Chinese associations like Yummoi did. Dad kind of kept us at home, sort of thing. But he was very big on the Chinese culture, keeping our Chinese language. So we did speak Chinese at home. And as you're growing up, you learn to speak English, and your friends are more Canadian people that speaks English. So you kind of lose your Chinese language. So we had to go to Chinese school. My punishment, because the last time we talked, if you got caught speaking English at home, you had to, how in the old days you polished your floor, you use your wax on and then you polish it off. Well, my brother and me waxed our floors on our hands and knees. We had the shiniest floors. You could eat off the floors. That's how many times I got caught speaking English. So Dad was really big on keeping your Chinese heritage, and that's the way it was at home.
Yeah, that is so true, Lily. Because my grandfather, while he was still alive, he would forbid us to speak English at home.
Exactly,
we had to speak Chinese, and I did not learn Chinese. I did not learn English until I went to grade 1 in Alec Taylor School. Exactly. Up till then, we just spoke Chinese at home.
Yeah, me too. The same thing. And that's why when we got punished, wax the floor. Like I said, you could see your face on the floor because we had to polish it all the time.
Yeah.
Well, we have a question that came through the Q&A that I think is really connecting to what you're both sharing at the moment. So how did being a member of the Chinese Girls Marching Ensemble shape your cultural identity and your sense of belonging? How do you think the China Dolls were received in Edmonton, and what impact do you feel that they had?
Unfortunately, I think the China Dolls were not on the scene that long to make a really big impact at the time. But I think for myself as a member, it really made me proud of my Chinese heritage. And
I totally agree with that.
Yeah. And I think as I find that as I grew older, embracing and returning to my roots and really, being proud of my heritage, who I am. I think at one time when we were growing up, teenagers, you want to fit in with your peer groups. And at times I know that, you probably want to hide some of your Chinese-ness, your Asian, your Chinese heritage, I think, because we wanted to be part like everyone else, and, with our Canadian friends. And I was afraid that they would make fun of, some of the things we did, our culture, our traditions. But as I grew older, I think, hey, this is who I am. I'm Chinese. I'm proud of it. And I like to share that with anyone, all my friends, and the wider community if I have the chance. And that's why I agreed to participate in today's webinar.
Yeah, I feel the same way, because remember, Yummoi, when we were in elementary, us Chinese people were the minorities.
Yes.
Remember that? Yeah. But I did hang around with a lot of mixed culture I had. And I was really proud of being Chinese. We didn't even know that we were Chinese until we got into higher grades, and then the kids that you hung out with, hey, you're Chinese. Yes, I am all the way through, but it made me proud. I was never ashamed of being Chinese. And yeah, and I'm still proud. If I had another life, in my next life, I want to be Chinese, but a little bit taller. That's the only thing I want to be.
And today I am so glad that, my parents and my grandparents made us speak Chinese at home, because to this day, today I can converse very well in Chinese, with
Isn't that true?
Yeah.
Isn't that true? It's just like
Yeah.
when I see your brother at the casinos, I'm speaking Chinese to him all the time.
Yeah, and I have no problem switching between English and Chinese. It's so automatic.
Yeah, me too. It's automatic. It just switches, and it's just like my son speaks Chinese too, and I've always kept it that way. I'm proud of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
Another question has come through our Q&A. Do either of you continue with your involvement in the Chinese community in Edmonton, either now or throughout your life?
Well, I must admit, I haven't been too involved with the Chinese community, but I believe my brother Bill is slowly getting me back into it. And, I think it's an area that I would probably like to spend more time and devote more time to it.
Yeah, and I don't, because my job usually takes me away that I could not commit to anything. Well, not now because of the pandemic, but yeah.
I see as, some volunteer opportunities that may come up, and, like the Heritage Days Festival, you work at, I've helped out at the Chinese Pavilion, and, through connections with my brother, Bill, he's the driver of all this.
Well, he's really involved in the Chinese community. He volunteers a lot. He's very appreciated out there.
Yeah, and I think it's important that we keep this up, and we certainly want to keep this going, our involvement, and I think it's up to us as kind of our generation and the next generation to keep our heritage kind of visible in the broader community.
That is so true.
For the performances with the Chinese Girls Marching Ensemble, were they mainly aimed at Chinese Canadian audiences and at Chinese Canadian events, or were they more so performances aimed at bridging multicultural audiences?
Oh, I'm going to leave that answer to you, Yummoi.
I remember more of our performances. Well, in terms of our participation in the community parades, like the St. Albert Rainmaker Rodeo, the Klondike Days, I think it's just to showcase us, the Chinese community, us as ambassadors to the broader community, for those who may not be so, that much aware of the multiculturalism in the city at the time. And I believe it's probably more for a wider audience, for non-Chinese, so to speak, just to share what we have, our traditions, our dance, our heritage with the broader community. I think, and it's like what Christina said earlier, Goodwill ambassadors for the Chinese community.
Yeah, you folks were there externally to share your culture with the broader Edmonton community, but being part of that group and being together and practicing in the friendships was really beneficial to yourself and feeling part of that community.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a good feeling to be part of the Chinese community, because we made friends and it felt like a family to me.
Yeah. And Lily, further to what you said, I think, because like I mentioned earlier, living in the inner city, we didn't really have that many opportunities to get out of the house, to get out of our family, kind of like an opportunity to, like you said, travel to Calgary. We wouldn't have done that without, if we were not members of this group.
Well, this is true. Yeah. Mom and dad didn't let us go anywhere much, right?
My parents were working, and it we were not allowed, really
to join
venture
much.
to join any other social community activities or that. And for us, you finish your regular school and then it's off to Chinese lessons Monday to Friday.
Yeah,
4 to
this is true.
5 to
4 to
7
7,
p.m.
isn't it?
right?
5 to 7. Okay.
5 to 7
I know
p.m.
it was I know it was 7 o'clock.
We didn't get to play baseball, soccer practice, or dance lessons or piano lessons like that, right? So the China Dolls was a blessing, really. It kind of it was a great opportunity to get out of the house.
Yeah, and to be part of something.
Yes.
Yeah, I was pretty proud to be in there.
Was there an equivalent group for young boys or young men within the Chinese community?
I don't remember anything for boys.
Not that I know of. I don't think so.
No.
Interesting question, though. Equal opportunity, but I guess at that time, girls were considered more fitting, more appropriate for China Dolls and the costumes that we were wearing and the dance and all that for the routine and for the performances that we did.
Yeah, but there isn't anything for the boys.
No,
because my brother was at home.
Except maybe martial arts or something like that.
But I don't even think they had martial arts at that time, did they? I don't remember that. Yeah.
A question that's come through the Q&A is that did you face any discrimination when you were attending high school? I know that the part of town that you were both living in was Chinatown at the time, but Lilly shared that a lot of the schools that you went to, that you folks were in the minority. Was there any discrimination, and did being part of the China Dolls help you feel more accepted or have a better sense of belonging?
I can recall some discrimination, yes, elementary, junior high, and high school, but though all those 3 schools had a huge Asian Chinese student population, so we kind of tend to hang out with those people. For myself, I didn't have too many non-Chinese friends, and I think we kept to ourselves. We kept to our circle of friends, and we didn't really associate with the non-Chinese students. And maybe that, I don't know, that was good or bad at the time, but it kind of maybe protected us from further discrimination. And I know I probably didn't want to share too much of my Chinese traditions and cultures with the other students, when I was going to school.
Yeah, I did that too. Yeah.
And I remember in particular, one time I took the bus to school when it was really cold. I think I was in high school and the bus was really crowded. I was sitting on the bus first, but all these people got on the bus after, and there was really no room, but the seat next to me sat empty. And then I kind of thought, oh, is it because I'm Chinese? So that's one kind of scenario that I remember really clearly from high school.
Yeah,
that's from high school. I don't remember any discrimination from elementary. I had a mixture of different kind of races as friends that we hung out with. But as soon as I got to grade 10 at Vic High, I was Chinese. One of my good friends pointed out that I was Chinese. And right from there, I felt discriminated. Because in high school, they have school dances. And, the boys always ask the girls to dance. And out of my whole circle, nobody asked me to dance. And then I heard from the corner, and saying, yeah, she's Chinese. And they called me all sorts of names. And that's when I started hanging around with more Chinese people from my high school years. I felt the discrimination, definitely.
Yes. That is so true, Lily. Junior high school dances, girls line up on one side of the gym, boys on the other side. And, you never asked to dance, but I must say I did have some, really good non-Chinese friends as well. Don't get me wrong, I did have some really good friends that were non-Chinese in junior high.
Well, so I did too in junior high, but in grade 10, even my non-Chinese friends said I was Chinese, and that's where I felt the discrimination. It was in high school. Even back in elementary school, Alex Taylor, when we were playing out
outside for recess. Yeah, like I remember now some of the boys, non-Chinese boys calling us names, you know, racist
Yes,
names.
I heard that.
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard it.
We were
Yeah.
taunted. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing about that. And yeah, thank you.
Mm.
Someone in the chat sent us a message about opportunities for boys. Maybe there was something like lion dance or Chinese yo-yo they suggest or ask.
I don't know what the Chinese yo-yo is.
Maybe
I don't
that's
know
a
what that
newer
is.
thing.
Or was it ping pong maybe?
I don't know what that is. But they did have a Chinese line dance, right? Yeah,
Yes.
where the boys that joined. But not when we were the China Dolls. I don't remember that. I think it
No,
came
no.
later.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the time we were a group and we were performing, I think there were not too many other Chinese groups kind of doing what we were doing.
Yeah.
No, there wasn't.
When we spoke earlier this week, Lily, you shared a little bit of your story of your family immigrating to Canada and coming to Edmonton, and how being a member of the China Dolls was something your dad really wanted you to do so you could maintain and be an active part of the Chinese community. Would you mind sharing a little bit about that with the group?
Sure. We came in the year 1962, and that was when Canada allowed 100 families to migrate over. So Dad brought us over, you know, wanting a better life for the kids. And so I was about 4 or 5 years old, somewhere around there. And I did go to kindergarten and being in elementary, and Dad being really strong on keeping our Chinese tradition, even though that he brought us over to the land of plenty, as he would say, you know, to have better life. He still wanted us to keep our Chinese traditions and Chinese culture. So we went to Chinese United Church and we went to Chinese school. And then when this, because we weren't allowed to really join any extracurricular activities after school, but when this China Dolls came up, and we were allowed to join. So that made me feel really happy, because now I've got a bigger circle of friends, and I'm amongst my own people, and we speaking Chinese, and some of us speak English, of course, but it made me feel part of something, like a family, and more accepted in this Western world. I was really, really proud of that. Yeah.
What about you, Yummoi? Would you mind sharing some of your story?
Well, I was born in Hong Kong, came to Canada when I was not 2 years old with my mom and grandmother, but my grandfather and my dad were here earlier. My grandfather, that's another story.
I hear you.
I think, yeah, that would be another story that can be very interesting. He operated the Aero Cafe, and I guess it was quite the place. It was had a notorious history back in the 1940s and the 50s, because the military, the army base north of Edmonton would come to the Aero Cafe I remember we were doing some research. There are some police records that there's always a fight there on the weekend. And my grandfather was kind of like the godfather of the Chinese community in the 1940s, because he spoke English. He helped everyone that, you know, came to Edmonton that needed help with the English language, with navigating the legal system. He represented everybody if they got into trouble with the law. And, you know, he kind of think was a Renaissance man. He learned how to fly during the time when Yummoi was a pilot in Edmonton, and he took lessons, flying lessons. I think in his heart, he wanted to go back to China to be a pilot. And then the communists took over in 1949, I believe. And then he never did go back to China. And then years later, my dad came over. And then later after that, my mom, my grandmother, and I came over, and we've lived in Edmonton since. And for my grandfather, it was really important that we speak Chinese. And
Yes.
he told us we have to be proud of your language. If you forget about the English, you will learn that soon enough, but you can't forget your Chinese.
Yes.
And to this day, and I can still read a Chinese menu when I go to a restaurant and order some. I've lost a lot of it, but I spent 6 years for Chinese lessons after school. And at that time, like Lilly said, it was more punishment. But now I'm thinking that I'm so glad my parents made us do that.
Mhm.
Oh, yes. Yes, definitely. I'm glad that I have my Chinese still.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and now I'm so proud of who I am, and I share that, my traditions, my cooking, my knowledge of everything that's Chinese related with all my friends, and they seem really interested, and they're always asking me about that, and I do not hesitate to share that with with my coworkers, with my friends.
Mhm.
So and I think that's and being part of the China Dolls at that time, I kind of maybe planted the seed that we should be proud of our heritage.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah, because it always stuck with me too.
Well, we are getting close to almost 4 o'clock. So for the folks who are attending, this is your chance to get some questions into the chat box or to the Q&A so we can answer those. Another one just came in, so I'll pose that to you both, and then I have a question as well.
Okay.
Yummoi, did your grandfather or father ever make any reference to the head tax?
Yes, my grandfather. I actually have
Oh.
the certificate in our family still,
Oh, wow.
the head tax certificate, because my grandfather came to Canada. He landed in Victoria, I believe, in the early 1900s.
Mhm.
He was 16 years old, had no money. He landed in Victoria, found work with the this is what I remember him telling us. He found work with English lady in Victoria, housekeeping, houseboy. And that's where he learned his English. And then he somehow made it to Alberta and settled in Edmonton. And he picked up the English because he arrived in Canada at 16 years old.
Wow. And he had to come all by himself.
Yes, I think at that time, the part of China that our family lived in, and a lot of the Chinese Canadians at that time lived in southern China that had poverty, and so they would send their young men to Canada because they've heard of a land of opportunity, Gold Mountain, right, to build the railroad, and and then they would send money home.
Yeah.
Well, how much did they charge for head taxes? I don't remember Dad talking about it.
I can't remember. It was
when did it stop?
$50, and it went to 100, 250. At that time, It was
Wow.
a lot of money. Yes.
For when did that stop? Because I don't remember
I
Dad talking
think-
about that.
I have to look up the history, but
Yeah.
I think it stopped in the late 1920s. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
Perhaps perhaps Lan might know
Yes.
off the top of her head. She could share it in the chat box or join us by video if she'd like. Yeah. Great.
She's muted.
Oh, there we go. Hi, Lan. Thanks for joining us. You're muted at the moment.
She's still muted.
Mhm. Looking for
Sorry.
that. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, so I typed it in the chat there, and it went up to from $50 to $500.
That's a
And
lot in those days.
Mhm.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
And then it stopped about the 1920s, and Yummoi's right, about
Yeah.
1923.
Oh,
And then that's when
Okay.
they introduced the Chinese
Exclusion Act. I think.
Exclusion Act.
wow.
Thank you, Lan. All right. As we give a few more moments for possibly some more questions to come through, my closing question is, if you had to take your one favorite memory of being part of that group, what would it be?
I have to think about that.
The one memory that keeps in my head is us at practice when we were all together and just laughing and dancing, and it was like a big family. That's my big memory.
Yeah. Mine is kind of related to what Lily said. Yeah, just being part of the group and the just being the inclusion, I think, you know.
Yeah.
And the friendship.
Yes, the friendship. It's like a family. Those are my happy times.
Yeah, and performing in front of, you know, an audience of so many people, they're all looking at us.
Wonderful. We had another question come through the chat. It said, nowadays, many Chinese dance teachers arrived directly from China to teach dance to school students. At the time of the Edmonton China Dolls, who choreographed and taught the dances?
Oh,
you know, Yummoi, the only people that I remembered there was Ben Ma and Kim Ma.
Okay.
Do you remember those two?
I remember another man, Ron Kahn. I think he was very instrumental in forming this group, and he came to Edmonton from Vancouver, and I remember him teaching us some of the drills at the outdoor practice, you know, like the formations and all that. But the dance, the Taiwanese folk song dance, I'm not sure who taught us that one.
Yeah, I don't remember that one.
I don't remember that, but the drills, carrying the lantern, and you know, when we're marching in the parades, I think Ron did a lot of that, because I think he had a background in that maybe when he was in Vancouver.
Thank you both so much for joining us today and sharing your experience as being a China doll, a member of the Chinese Girls Marching Band. I was so excited to learn about this story, and I'm really, really thankful that that you were both willing to share our questions today, or to answer the questions. And one more question has slid right in. Who made your costumes, or where did you get them from?
I couldn't answer that one.
I know we went in. We fundraised to get the money to have these costumes made in Hong Kong. They were made in Hong Kong.
Wow.
Yes, yeah, and then I remember going with some of the older girls to the Chinese businesses in Edmonton, to the grocery stores, to the restaurants, asking for donations, and then we had these beautiful costumes made in Hong Kong for us.
Wow, that's so special.
Yeah, look at all the handiwork, right? Like, you see that, like all the, you know, the sequins and all that. It was,
they're beautiful. And now somebody's wearing mine.
You shouldn't have gave yours up.
Well, what can I say? My sister said, we have to give them back. We gave them back.
Well, I didn't listen.
Yeah, I wish I didn't either, because they bring back good memories.
Yes, and I'm surprised it's in such good condition, you know, like no stains on it. Wow, we probably kept, you know, we were really careful. I'm just amazed at the details and the sequence and all the handiwork that went into it, the beading and the sequence.
Christina, did you get that text picture that I sent to you? That was me in one of those uniforms.
Oh, it was taking some time to download. It hasn't come through on my phone yet, but if it does, I'll for sure share it. It's an old photo of you.
Yes, an old photo. It hasn't downloaded on your cell yet?
No.
It's a text message.
Yeah. Okay. I have it here, but I've been trying to get it to open. Yeah.
So you said that this will be posted on Facebook.
Yeah, so the live stream is happening right now, and so folks can go to the Edmonton City as Museum Project Facebook page, and you'll be able to access the video from here on out. But I'll also be giving a recording that I've made to the Chinese Benevolent Association, who will be presenting it or preserving it somehow, because I think it's really important to capture this story. The China Dolls maybe were only around for a few years, but it seems like it was a really important and impactful part of your experiences being in Edmonton. So
Yeah, it was all positive. It was very good.
It was, yes, it was all positive.
fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your memories about being part of the troupe. I also want to say thank you to the Chinese Benevolent Association of Edmonton for putting this presentation together. I'm very humbled that eCamp could play a very small part in it. I'm going to give a little shout out to the next installment of the I Didn't Know That Chinatown series that the Chinese Benevolent Association is putting on. So next Sunday at 3 p.m., we will be joined by Lan Chan Marples for a presentation called Knitting for a Good Cause, the Chinese Women's Club.
Oh,
So
wow.
during World War II, the Chinese Women's Club of the United Church of Canada in Edmonton knitted many clothing articles for the Bundles for Britain campaign, which was founded in 1940 by an American living in New York City in the aid of British servicemen and citizens. So I'm really looking forward to learning from Lan about her research about how the Edmonton's Chinese community was contributing to the war efforts in Britain.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you can
so
register.
That's next Sunday.
Next
And we would-
Sunday at 3 p.m.
And we would go log on the same way we logged on today.
There's a different link, but if you Google Knitting for a Good Cause or go to asianheritagemonth.ca/2021, you can register for next Sunday's free event.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. So thank you everyone for joining us today.
It's been my pleasure, Christina.
My pleasure. And it was nice seeing you again, Yummoi.
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful.
Okay.
We're going to close today. Oh, all of my kind of screens have disappeared for a second. We're going to close today with a video presentation sponsored by the Fort Saskatchewan Multicultural Association. The Fort Saskatchewan Multicultural Association is a nonprofit organization that's committed to celebrating diversity or the diversity of our multicultural community. And I feel like this one is very appropriate. We're going to have two young women teaching us some Chinese and how to make a lantern craft. So we're going to end with this. Feel free to turn off your cameras and mics and to watch the video. But thank you so much for being with us today. And yeah, I wish you all the best and enjoy the rest of your long weekend.
Learning how to read and write some Chinese numbers from 1 to 5.
We'll also learn how to make a Chinese craft and the history behind that craft. Please get out a piece of paper and something to write with, like a pen or pencil to follow along.
So the first number we're going to learn to write is the number 1.
It is pronounced as E. Can you try saying it a couple times?
This number 1 is pretty easy. All you have to do is you start from the left and you draw a straight line to the right. Try writing it.
Okay, the next number we're going to learn is the number 2.
You pronounce it as R. Can you try?
To write R, it's very similar to Yi. First, you're going to draw a line up there and then draw a longer line under. Can you write it on your piece of paper?
Okay, the next number we're going to learn how to write is the number 3.
It is pronounced as San.
It's similar to the sun, but you just put an an tone. So this one's also pretty easy. You just start from the left and you draw a line, and then under that you draw another line that's the same length, but under those two you just draw an even longer one. It's 3 strokes, just like 3. Can you try?
The next number we're going to learn is the number 4.
pronounce it as si. Try saying it.
To write si, it is a little harder than the rest, but we will start here and we'll draw a line down and then draw a line across and then down with a little tip here. Then you're going to draw like a mustache kind of thing right there. Then close off the box. And that's si. Can you write it a couple times?
It's pretty, it looks hard, but it's not that hard. You just draw a box and then you draw a mustache inside. Okay, the next number we're going to learn how to write is the number 5.
It is pronounced as wu. Can you say it a couple times?
It's a bit deeper sound, but yeah. And then now we're going to learn how to write wu. So first you write the letter T, and then you draw a line across and then down. And then as you can see, we kind of made like a box, but we have to close it. So all we have to do is draw a longer line at the bottom to close it. Can you try? This one is a bit harder, but with some practice, it's not that hard.
Good job. You just learned numbers 1 to 5 in Chinese. Now we're going to do a cultural craft. Today's cultural craft, we're going to make Chinese lanterns.
So we're going to learn about the history behind them. Many believe that the Chinese actually first began making these traditional lanterns during the Eastern Han Dynasty.
Lanterns were actually used as a light source, but then it became an aspect of Buddhist worship.
They were flown during Chinese New Year.
Chinese New Year's change each year. In the year 2021, it is on February 12th.
And the reason why most lanterns are red and yellow are because red symbolizes wealth, fame, and prosperity, while the color yellow is associated with good luck and neutrality. And as you can tell, they are also the colors of the China flag. Now we are going to learn how to make the Chinese lanterns. Let's go into this presentation.
Chinese lanterns.
Okay, so we will be making the lanterns with you guys. So for our materials, we will need a red or yellow piece of paper. We will need some scissors and either a stapler or tape.
Step 1. If you don't have 2 pieces of paper, I suggest that you first, from your paper, you're going to cut a long strip. So from the long side, you're going to cut like a thin shape. This will be for your handles that you're going to use later. So you cut a strip right now.
Save it for later.
Okay, now we're going to take our piece of paper. We're going to put it long way, kind of like a hot dog. We're going to fold the piece of paper in half. So put both corners neat, and we're going to fold it.
Make sure both corners are touching each other and it's like a hot dog. Okay, step 2. So now on the side that is folded, which is this side, we cut strips, but they're pretty thick, like this thick, but make sure you don't cut them all the way because these will be part of the holes in your lantern.
So go ahead and cut them.
can be any length you want. Just make sure it doesn't go all the way to the edge, so you won't totally cut it off. So this is what my end result looks like. It's kind of like a skirt.
Step 3, we're going to unfold the piece of paper. So you can see it looks like this.
And there should be a lot of lines in the middle, but it's still like in one piece. Step 4, what we do is we have to connect these ends into a cylinder shape. Now
this kind of forms the shape of the Chinese lantern.
So for now, we'll just hold on, and you can make it as small or big as you want. Remember this.
Next, we're going to take our tape or stapler, and we're going to tape the parts to connect it. So we're gonna put a piece of tape up here.
And then
One piece, you could easily put the rest.
And if you're using a stapler, we'll hold the edges and then we'll just open, and then we'll just, and be sure to do both sides so that it will stay in its shape.
Also do the middle right here.
So end result right now, it should look like this. Step 6 is that we get our strip that we have cut out at the beginning, and then you can cut how short you want your handle to be according to your lantern. And then what we do is we just tape or staple it onto the sides.
If you want the handle to be different colors, you could get a different color, like yellow if you're using red.
For this step, having tape would probably be easier, but you can still do it with a stapler. This is the end result. Nice lantern. And if you want, you can decorate using washi tape, and you can do a line of any kind of design on the side and the bottom. Then you can also stick some stickers, rhinestones, gems, anything you want to decorate your lantern.
If you want to make the lantern look, you want to push it down a bit. So it's kind of like this.
And then this is what your lantern should look like. Thank you for joining us today and learning about the Chinese culture and how to read and write some Chinese.
Next time we will do more advanced, or like we'll finish the rest of the numbers.
Yeah. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, folks. Thank you again for joining us for this afternoon's presentation from the Chinese Benevolent Association of Edmonton, Goodwill Ambassadors, Edmonton's China Dolls. I'm very humbled and thankful for the opportunity to learn about the group and to hear the memories and the stories from both Yummoi and Lilly. Thank you so much for sharing this part of yourselves with us today. And I hope that folks can join us next week at the final series with Lan Chan Marples. We've posted in the chat the Eventbrite of where you can access registering for that particular event. So I hope you can see us next week. And you can also go to the website asianheritagemonth.ca/2021 to learn of the event and other things happening. And you can also go to the Edmonton City as Museum Project website, which is citymuseumedmonton.ca, to learn more about the people, places, things, and moments that make Edmonton our history or our city. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, and I hope you have a safe and wonderful long weekend. Bye.